Okay, so right now I'm here with potential mayor in the Nova Scotia West Hants region municipality, correct?
Yeah.
All right. So I obviously know you as KJ, but can you give us a little bit more description about yourself and what you've been doing in Nova Scotia for the past 10 years as a Bermudian as well?
Yeah. So like I always say, like, the government name is KJELD MIZPAH, but I go by KJ. And so I've been in Atlantic, Canada for 10 years, and I left when I was 18 to come out to school. And I don't know, like when you go to university, it's just like you're gonna go away, get a good job, and then you're gonna come back home. And 10 years later, I'm still here and I'm running for a municipality in the municipal election. And it's like sometimes it's surreal for me. Like it's actually like 10 years till this day. I actually moved to Canada. So it's a full circle to be here. And so I started with, doing business, and I have slowly moved away from business, but business is still my heart. But a lot of the work that I do is government innovation and public policy, and I have a focus on municipalities because how Canada works is, you have your three levels of government, and everyone gets excited for the federal government, everyone gets excited for provinces, but no one really takes the time to deal with the municipality, because all the municipalities deal with a lot of work. Like I call it like gunk. We deal with the water, we deal with sewage, we deal with simply just running the day to day of being citizens. And a lot of the work I do is helping municipalities do climate adaptation and community economic development. So having the opportunity to like run a municipality that's growing is something that's really exciting to me.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about like those three tiers that you actually just broke down. But first, because I want to just mention, I know you said you were into business first, and then you kind of drifted off. But I know you from CBA and Bridge, and you're definitely heavy in, a government association. You've always had politics on your mind. Whenever I would post something, you'd always be one of the first to respond about anything going on the island and give your perspective as someone who obviously has been in the work with the municipal back in Nova Scotia. So talking about those three tiers, can you break down again what they are and maybe looking at how Bermuda is functioned to
Yeah.
explain like how that differs between our island and what we're doing versus how things happen in Nova Scotia?
Cool. I would say so. Municipalities are kind of like, the town of St. George's, city of Hamilton. Like my family's from Flats Village. Flats Village should have a council. Somerset Village should have a council, and kind of like a weird thing of like the parish councils. Even those things are really cool, so I really encourage people to look up your parish councils as well. They do a lot of cool work. So that's kind of like what I'm running for, is so that they deal with your day-to-day local, like things to deal with your local stuff. So like trash, sewage, all the things that like I find very interesting, but usually people don't really care about. And then our province would be actually all of Bermuda. So that would be kind of like Nova Scotia. It will be on the same level as Bermuda. And then the federal will be the United Kingdom, because like Bermuda, the British overseas territory and stuff like that.
Got you.
Like the mayor, like the mayor of like the city of Hamilton. So like that, like his job is to, yeah, his job is to, be the basically the CEO of the city of Hamilton. So Nova Scotia is kind of weird, where back in the day, in like colonization days, everyone had these, like they had parishes. So the parishes now are kind of like the municipalities, which is kind of weird. So I'm running to be the CEO of one of the old colonies, basically.
And I read that it's about like almost 20,000 people in
Yeah,
there.
yeah. Like we're a baby. So like the town, so like there's multiple little towns. So just imagine probably like four St. George's, a couple of Flats villages, and like a few Somersets. So like that's kind of like how we're broken up. Like we're a collection of little towns in like this big, massive area.
Yeah, it's about one third of the population of Bermuda. Like when
Yeah,
you put it into that perspective, that's
yeah,
quite a bit.
yeah,
That's quite a
yeah.
bit. And the fact that we in Bermuda again, I know I keep comparing it to MPs because I know it's more like the mayor of the town of city of Hamilton, like you said, but also thinking about how little of people that they have to like,
Yeah.
know what they deal with, but
Mhm.
help and assist within their constituencies, and you got a lot more.
Yeah, yeah. Like, and like sometimes like I pinch myself that like when you're running a campaign, like you're doing the thing, you're like shaking the hands and you're trying to fundraise because these things are very expensive to run. And like someone set me down. I was just like, if you win, like what would that look like? And I'm actually just thinking about that, of just going one day, I'm doing my 9 to 5 job, and now my job is to talk about sewage infrastructure and developing, because I don't know if folks know that Nova Scotia, like we're relatively close to Bermuda, but our population is expected to grow to like 2 million people. And that's just like a lot of people. So like so every municipality is just being like, what we're going to do with all these people, what we're going to do with it. And it's exciting and also nerve-wracking. Like I'm probably one of the youngest mayors who are running in all of Nova Scotia right now. So like that's pretty exciting. But it is, I don't know, it's a weird and exciting time.
Talk a little bit about, I guess, who you're running against, or just the amount of people that you're running against too, and when it started, when do people have to get out there and vote?
Yeah, so I'm running against 3 other individuals, and like this is like really, when you think of a campaign, especially now, like you're watching United States or you watch everywhere else, like everyone's like, okay, you gotta have the attack ads, and you got to be angry, and you got to be mean. And like this election is just like so fun. Like we're all just like, congratulations, I'm rooting for you, I like what you're doing, it's good. Like we're being supportive. We're just started, but like we're being very supportive with each other, which is really cool. But the dynamics of this town or this municipality is so complex, where because it's one of like the founding like colonies, like sorry, the founding committees or whatever you want to call them of Nova Scotia. There's like Black folks who have been here for like 500 years. You have like Acadians, so the French population. You have like French, English settlers, French settlers. So for an area that's so small, it's like very diverse, and it reminds me a lot of Bermuda, to be honest with you, of just like how deep the founding communities have deep historical context here, which kind of excites me a little bit, because I tell people all the time, I was just like, you folks, you may be in Canada, but you folks remind me of Bermudians all the time when I chat with you. It's like so much similarities there.
Do they know much about your own like history of like being a Bermudian, and how did they take to that when they found out, when they're trying to vote for their mayor?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because it's the concept around like new Canadians running is kind of like a new phenomenon now. Like normally people see second generation folks running for office, but there is this rush of like first generation Canadians, which I am now, running for it. And one thing that people find very interesting is like I am unapologetically Bermudian. Like folks, like I when I see one prime example is like when folks ask if I want a dark and stormy, I ask what ginger beer they have, and if they say something that's not, and people may not think this is correct, but I prefer a guzzling ginger beer. If I don't hear guzzlings or Barrett's, I'm just like, that's not dark. That's not dark and stormy. I don't know what you're drinking. And so like people like this idea that I'm so proud of my culture, my heritage of being Bermudian, but also have created this cool fusion of like what it actually means to be Scotian. And like people kind of, because like you do have a little bit of xenophobia, but folks kind of respect the fact that I'm able to kind of fuse the different cultures together. And then Nova Scotia is pretty cool, where Bermudians have been coming to Nova Scotia since 1609. So you can't say Bermudians haven't been on Nova Scotia, because we can trace our history of working with Nova Scotians and people within Atlantic Canada since 1609.
And there you go. Yeah, I mean, there has been a huge influx of Bermudians always going to school there. As you know,
Yeah.
I went there as well, Nova Scotia, for university, and then Toronto's just really popular for that too.
Yeah.
Canada in general.
Yeah.
Bermudians come to Canada. So can you talk a little bit maybe about the needs and wants of the community there, and maybe any projects that you've already like have led with your work in policy making that have
Yeah.
made a difference in some way?
Yeah. So I call it the big three. Like we have infrastructure. You know, a lot of our infrastructure is aging. You know, we want roads, we want bridges, we want sewage, but people fail to realize that, you know, you got to think of that. And weirdly enough, my love of infrastructure actually stems from Bermuda. And you know, going to Seabridge Academy, where you I saw what happened when you don't put infrastructure spending, or you don't look at the strategic foresight around spending for infrastructure and the impacts of it. You know, like I grew up going to high schools, middle schools that I look back at it now, we were joking about mold and we were joking about different things, but in reality, like, because we didn't put in the strategic foresight for our infrastructure, and that's like OBA, UBP, whoever you want to be, because we didn't have that foresight in how we were building infrastructure, we put kids at risk. And that kind of motivated me to get into understanding infrastructure, especially when it comes to government procurement and trying to figure out ways of, like, you know, it's one thing to build the building, but what does, you know, the maintenance cost look like? And how do you constantly encourage people to understand that? So I'm bringing that kind of concept to this race. Is we have a lot of aging infrastructure. We need to have conversations about it. And then housing. Housing is bad. Like we we have commercialized housing so bad here in Canada that folks don't see themselves in like either sustainable housing or affordable housing, because we have monetized it so largely, and we're not building housing for the life cycle of folks. So trying to develop good strategies that like have different type of approaches, and also connecting with sustainable development. Because I remember when if you fly into any city, when you come into Bermuda, when you come into like United States or Canada, and you see all of those rows of houses that go on for miles and miles and miles, that municipality pays for all of the underground work that's connected with that. Like urban sprawl is just super expensive. So I'm very interested in merging different type of ways of looking at development that is sustainable long term. And then the last thing is growth. And I feel for Nova Scotia is leaning into tourism. I just put a post up today. I was like, tourism is in my blood. And I just realized how much tourism can shape a region around just confidence. Like the ability, I tell folks now, just like, why are you able, that people ask me is like, why are you able to be so confident and be able to host? I was just like, hospitality is in my blood. I've always seen and be immersed in different forms of tourism, and I see the benefit of it. So leaning into that and encouraging small businesses and entrepreneurship is kind of the three pillars in which I'm looking to bring into my tenure if I am successful as mayor.
Well, it seems like you garnered a lot from Bermuda, not just the cultural part, but like aspects that have, helped your education and also your vision for Nova
Mhm.
Scotia as well.
Yeah. I
So,
tell people all the time, like, I am a product of the Bermuda public school system. The fact that I'm able to talk about economics, the fact that I'm about to talk about investment, the fact that I'm able to run circles around people when it comes to debates and politics stems from the Bermuda public school system. And probably my parents too, but Bermuda public school system too.
so then let's hit into the question as to why you may have decided to run for mayor out there in Nova Scotia instead of coming back home to run in politics. As you know, because I know you're very much so into the political sphere of Bermuda still,
Yeah.
but Sir John Swan recently ran as an independent in C10, and he's calling for needing more independence.
Yeah.
So, just talk a little bit about like your choice, personal choice as to why you stayed out there and did not come home.
Yeah. I mean, I know I'm a Canadian. I could be a Canadian politician. I don't think I could be a Bermudian politician. I think we have politicalized our own future so bad that me entering into that, I wouldn't last. Like sometimes I see things that I would say things that I would probably be kicked out of the house, or simply for the fact that of like my own personal beliefs. Like because I have a family that is traditional, reading between the lines of however that may be. Like I can't even bring my family to the island if I wanted to because of the disrespect and internal homophobia that is on the island. So, from a safety standpoint of my family, it's a hard time to want to be in Bermuda. And I tell people all the time, like I am a big believer and advocate of my island, and it breaks my heart every time I'm away from the island. I even get emotional just saying this. But like it comes a point in time where because we aren't thinking about the future and the diversity of our people, like we are causing our talent to leave the island and feel unsafe or don't want to come back. And we fail to realize that regardless of what you think it is to be a Bermudian, Bermuda has 3 to 4 unique founding communities that has created what we call Bermuda. And we are so busy fighting that we haven't taken the time to like define what it actually means to be a Bermudian. And because we haven't defined what it means to be a Bermudian, a lot of folks are falling through the cracks. And I don't feel safe or comfortable running an office in Bermuda because I've fallen through the cracks.
Thank you for being honest about it just now.
Yeah, like it's I I prior I, yeah, I think I've people have asked this question to me every time because like it hurts me sometimes being that like I've been able to build economic development strategies that have uplifted communities. I'm working on building a farm incubator with Black communities throughout Nova Scotia. Like I'm doing everything I wanted to do in Bermuda, but I just couldn't do it in Bermuda simply because folks have a perception of like what a Black man should be or what a Bermudian should be instead of actually taking the time to realize that we as a collection of people are we don't fit into boxes, but we love that 21 square mile island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean because that experience of being Bermudian is very unique and it's its own thing. And so yeah, like I tell like the reason why I'm running for mayor right now is because of the foundation of Bermuda. And it breaks my heart every day that sometimes I can't do the work that I'm doing out here back home.
And you know what they always call it here, like in Bermuda, is like the brain drain, right?
Yeah.
And we know it's happening, but again, how are we fixing that issue? It just seems more and more leaving, and they keep asking, how do we keep our people to stay? And I feel like yourself, like you're literally saying it right now, but let's
Yeah.
just see where it goes.
Yeah. And like, hey, like the perk now, like I've created a consulting firm. Like Bermuda likes to pay good money for Canadian consultants, so I'm a Canadian consultant. So like but in all seriousness, like I've started to come back home now, and I'm staying longer, and I'm trying to meet with folks. So if I'm not successful with this election, I'm still going to do municipal work. So I would love to do work within our municipalities. Hopefully, Flats Village can get a council because I'm very proud of my village. But yeah, like I will always hold. I put respect where respect's due. So I am away, but I will do anything I can to help my country succeed because it's a gem. Like I'm extremely and utterly proud to be Bermudian.
Well, I know you're not gonna be coming back for the political realm in any time soon, but if you could today, what's something that you think that you'll probably attach yourself to help the community grow more in Bermuda?
I would say building up our small businesses. I'm an entrepreneur now, and I live in a family of entrepreneurs. And from I look at my family, like my family obviously is a Black family, and we have been able to build generational wealth for the last 3 generations because of Black entrepreneurship and the ability to merge social good with business. And a lot of the things that myself, my grandparents, my great grandparents, and even them, they created a lot of good social enterprises and social businesses that merge, making money and also community impact. And I believe that we focus so heavily on international business and all of those things, which, they're great. But when it comes to creating a sustainable network of economic development within a region, and I'll call Bermuda a region, you need to diversify your revenue streams. And I feel small businesses is that, because Bermudians are hustlers. Like, I love how we're able to, like, we know how to make money, we know how to make it fun, and we're able to create good businesses. I mean, like you are a prime example of it, of like being able to merge, news with like entrepreneurship. And I think this type of approach is the future of Bermuda, and leaning into our diaspora. Like, I see what my friends from Ghana and Jamaica are doing around being like, okay, you folks live away, but you better remember where you come from. You're from Ghana, you're from Jamaica. And they've created this notion around being in a diaspora. And, as people move away, people miss home. Like, it's a good feeling when you're walking. Like, I walk down in Halifax and I see a Bermudian, and we're just chilling and talking. I have never met this person before in my life. And the fact that they're from Bermuda, we just break bread over like some dark and stormies, make fun of the fact that, it doesn't have our ginger beer, and we debate whether it's Barrett's or Gosling's. But it showcases the power around the culture of being a Bermudian. So I would say those two things will solve a lot of the financial problems. And then also just realizing that, whether you're black, white, Portuguese, Filipino, um, you're Bermudian. And the fact that we all live on that rock, makes us one. We may have different approaches to it. We may be different people, but, we all have the same accent, and we all get excited at Cup Match. So makes us Bermudian.
I love that. Let's draw it back into your campaign a little bit before we close this out. But tell me a little bit about, your strategy right now, and maybe who actually is. I mean, let's go a little bit specific. Who is your like target age range right now that you think is probably like on your side to want you to become the mayor, and who do you think you have to like focus on a little bit more in order to warm up to you being the mayor?
Yeah. So I would say, like, the first thing that we have to say is, I'm also being very transparent here. Like, I have put up a lot of my own personal savings into this election. And so elections cost a lot of money, and you have to be strategic with it. So I'm leaning more into digital because of the accessibility that digital has. Like, some people are paying $15,000, $20,000 to like make their campaign happen. And I always say, not Steeds by, because I don't have the money, nor the time, nor the patience to put that much money into a campaign. But I do have the passion. So my approach has been leaning heavily into the digital space, and trying to figure out new ways of engaging with different folks, and utilizing different platforms for different things. And so you have you have traditional folks who are just like, I just want less taxes. So we got to create streams for them. But then you also have folks who are younger, who are not seeing themselves in the future of Nova Scotia and their region. And so people are craving hope. So I'm creating that hope as well. But then also the larger conversation is, whoever is the mayor of this municipality has to go to, Halifax, has to go to Ottawa, and showcase folks that rural is worth the investment. So for folks who don't know, like, you have like, urban, you have your big cities, but I live in a rural place. And so when it comes to investments, people have this perception that rural is dumb, rural is not worthy. And I'm like, rural is worthy and rural is smart. And so we have to showcase to people that, we are smart. So then we're coming in with the research, and we're doing the policy work, and we're creating a channel for them as well. And for me, the type of person that I'm trying to reach out to is people who don't vote. So sadly, we have a voter turnout of around 38%, and some districts are like 35. So my thing is reaching out to the person who feels that it is not worth their time doing their civic duty and being engaged in building the infrastructure that's going to be looking and making the decision of where the municipality is going. So I'm trying to convince those folks who don't care about politics, who don't see themselves in it, and kind of like, as I said before, fell through the cracks, because a lot of people have fallen through the cracks. And from my standpoint, you could either go the positive way where you want to pull it up, or you could go the negative way where we're seeing that a lot of populism is growing in rural communities because people feel disenfranchised. So I want to meet with those folks who, there was a Confederate flag in my neighborhood the other day. And instead of me just being like, why you got a Confederate flag? I said, explain to me why you put this flag up, and being able to break down and break bread with someone to get to the point where they were like, well, I thought this flag just meant freedom and I'm just upset because of XYZ. And then we were able to like work together around letting them know the different resources that are here in the community, but then also just like let someone voice their frustration. I think we've become so individualistic in the society that we're in that we forget that humans are around us. So that's been my approach. It's unconventional. People think it's dumb, but I like it, and I think people like the fact that politicians are putting empathy into politics.
I think you hit it on the nail just now with that last statement, because again, what people do want though is transparency and
Mhm.
an open ear. And sometimes, again, people just want to be heard about the
Yeah,
situations, and then they want action, of course. But
yeah,
just to even start those pathways where it doesn't automatically start on you're this way, I'm that way, so we're not gonna get along at all.
yeah,
Opening space for dialogue is probably one of the best routes that you can go.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we could all disagree on many things, but we
Mhm.
can still have a discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, respect. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's what we're doing. It's hard. Hey, if people in Bermuda know anyone who lives in West Hants, so that's just outside of Acadia. So if you know people in this area, let them know Bermudian's running.
Yes, and talk a little bit more. I want to just end up probably two more questions here. First one is that today, actually, in Bermuda, they had a registration sign-up day.
Mm,
Bermuda Youth Connect put that on. Yeah, and so I can't wait to find out the numbers of how many people actually went and actually got registered. But that's just another, just different avenue of trying
yeah.
out something new that I haven't seen been done in Bermuda yet, trying to get people to
Mhm.
register. I can't recall if we're in CB at the same time, but I was just like, we should have had like when people turn 18 or whatever, we should just automatically get these students to be registered to vote. Like
Mhm.
that should have been an automatic thing. I remember trying to get that done. It was not as successful, but but it was an idea, right?
Mhm.
But I guess closing out, I just want to ask you one more time to let people know how can they reach out to you, how can they know more about you, and when is election day, like to
Yeah.
vote?
So I've been telling folks, slide into DMs, KJ for Mayor on Instagram. And then we also have a website. So it's kjformayor.ca. I will do a disclaimer. A lot of folks outside of Canada have said, how can I donate? Because of election laws, anyone who's outside of Canada cannot donate to the campaign. Please don't do it because I will be fined. But there's other ways in which you can support the campaign. And the website is where we're trying to pull people in. And I would say those are the two things. And then the most important thing is just realizing, because registering to vote is also like a complicated process everywhere I'm seeing. So just making sure that you are registered, especially at the municipal level, where depending on when you lived in the municipality, you may qualify or you may not qualify.
Okay, awesome. And I guess just want to say thank you for having this conversation with me.
No problem.
Thank you for being transparent.
Yeah,
This is obviously the first time for you running for mayor in
yeah,
this municipality. You're one of the youngest ones to do it. And this is going to be quite a journey for you, quite a campaign as it's just starting out and you're ready and pushing yourself out there. I'm sure you've already gotten so many reactions as well from that video. I mean, I had to hit you up immediately.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, this is happening for you. That's really cool. And it's going to be quite a journey for you.
Wish me luck, everyone.